There are those around us who every day walk out the door with a badge, not knowing what challenges and risks will come to them that day. They sacrifice time with their families and put themselves in harm's way to help keep us safe. SVI Media proudly presents A Look Inside the Life of an Officer, brought to you by the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. Meet Deputy Jim Lytle and his family. Deputy Lytle serves as a canine officer in the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. His wife, Darlene, and their two children have called Star Valley home since the early 90s. Jim, who grew up in Aurora, Colorado, found Star Valley while serving in the military.
I had to haul a couple of trucks out of Afton, and we came in here, and the other guy that I was with, and I told him that then, I said, I think that, and I called Darlene later that night. I said, I found a place that I want to live one day.
Military service was nothing new for Jim. He knew that he wanted to join the National Guard at a young age. It was a family tradition that he always anticipated continuing.
As my grandfather called us, we're sons of the American Revolution. We've had people who've served, family members that have served in every war. I know for sure that my grandfather, he served in World War II. My dad actually was a National Guard member during Vietnam, and then I must have been somewhere when I was first in high school. It was a few years before I could join. My dad made a comment to me about Army service was good for a person, and so when I was 17 years old, it just became a deal. I found out that I could join the Army National Guard, and I did.
For Darlene, there certainly have been challenges along the way with being married to a serviceman. And although she and her family have always supported and been proud of Jim, the struggle became all too real for her and their two young children when Jim was first deployed overseas in 2003.
We started getting to the point where deployment was always in the back of our mind. He could always be deployed. I don't know, we'll be okay. And then 2003 was, okay, they're going. Our son was 6, he was a kindergartner. Our daughter was 2.5. And when we had to sit down and tell the kids, Daddy's going to be deployed and we don't know when he'll be back. And the question that our son asked that neither one of us were prepared for at all was, Daddy, can you die? And it was very, very difficult at that point, because it's like, wait, our kids understand more than we thought that they did.
In the mid-2000s, the National Guard wanted to relocate the Lytles to another part of the Cowboy State. Because the family loved Star Valley so much, they decided instead that it was time for Jim to consider retirement from the military. A career in law enforcement was the next step and a natural fit.
A friend of mine was with the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, and I took and went and talked to him, and he told me that, yeah, they actually had some positions open right then in the jail. So went and talked to the sheriff and then met with the jail administrator, and I went ahead and left the National Guard, the full-time side, and went back to the regular traditional side of the National Guard and started working in the jail in January of 2002. And a year later, the road position came open in Star Valley. I applied for it and moved up to the road.
The decision to join law enforcement permanently for Jim was cemented following a miraculous experience that happened in the Clark's Barn area of Star Valley in January 2014. A teenage girl drove her car into the freezing Salt River. Deputy Lytle was one of the first responders on the scene.
And a girl had crashed her pickup into the river, and it was upside down. And this was January, so the river was iced over. That event there, because we went down and was able to save her, realizing that I had that ability to be able to help somebody and make a difference that way in our community, told me that I needed to stay and focus on my law enforcement. So I put in my retirement packet at that time to retire from the National Guard, which I did last fall.
Since becoming a law enforcement officer, Deputy Lytle has added a new co-worker and member of the family. Meet Flesh, one of the canine officers in the Lincoln County Sheriff's Department. Deputy Lytle and Flesh have been working together now since 2012.
I went back to Indiana to Von Leck Kennels, and they helped me select canine flesh as my companion. And so him and I were partnered up at that time, and we've been together now for 5 years. A lot of fun. It's a great experience.
Flesh is a full-fledged member of the Sheriff's Department staff, and one that they would not be able to do their job without.
He's a narcotic detection dog. He also does tracking, so we can use him on searches when we're looking for people. Or in his case, he just thinks he's looking for his ball.
Even with Flesh by Deputy Lytle's side, Darlene, who also serves as a volunteer EMT, still has some of the same concerns now as she did during the National Guard days, especially as her husband leaves the house with the badge on.
But now that I'm an EMT, there's times that I hear what's going on because I'm on call or I'm on duty, and so I can hear. And there's times that I hear a domestic call go out and I'm like, oh, I know he's going to have to go. Okay, please let it be somebody who's going to be calm when he gets there, or he'll come home for dinner break and take 2 bites of his dinner and be called out for a domestic or a bad car wreck or something. So there's still that anxiety of wondering what the night's going to hold or what the day's going to hold.
Despite the challenges, the family is still proud and still supports Deputy Lytle. They still love living in Star Valley and hope to continue raising their 2 children here. The family enjoys activities that most families in Star Valley do. They camp, fish, spend time outdoors, and enjoy watching a movie at home.
Kind of the things we like is we're here in these beautiful mountains, so we like to go camping, we like to go hunting. This year, since I have that extra time of retiring from the Guard, I've decided to pick up fly fishing. I won't say that I'm a fly fisherman yet, but I've decided to try. And we do a lot of different things. We do all the things that most people do, and those become what make us who we are.
This is Deputy Jim Lytle. Jim is a law enforcement officer in the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. We at SVI Media thank him and his family for their sacrifice and service, for fighting for our freedom, and for keeping our small community safe. But it's by taking a small look inside the life of this officer and his family that you realize they aren't very different from you and I, which makes what they do even more remarkable.